being a part of this as well. We're going to start with, and then as soon as that's over, we'll do the pledge, and then we'll begin our program. Dylan Gates with Farm Bureau is going to come up and do our pledge, or our prayer, and then our pledge.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for your many blessings, Lord. We thank you that we get to live in a great country. We thank you for our freedoms, Lord. We thank you for Henderson County and the local counties around us, Lord, that you've blessed us with, Lord. I just pray that you be with us tonight. I pray that, Lord, questions will be answered and things that will be taught that will be clear, and that everything that we do tonight will bring glory to your name. Lord, we love you. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen. Please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate that. I want to first off say thank you to the city school system and LMS for allowing us to use your location. This is a great facility to use for this. I want to thank our state representatives and senator for being here and working hard with me on the changing schedule, so I appreciate you guys doing that. I want to thank Farm Bureau. They were our sponsor and provided all the snacks out there, so Justin Deere and Farm Bureau, thank you so much, and we're going to give Justin a minute to address.
Thank you for having me. I'm Justin Deere, Farm Bureau Insurance Agency Manager, and you got to hear one of my agents, Dylan Yates, also Agent Jonathan DeBerry and Agent Jordan Tubbs. They couldn't be here tonight, but we are thankful you guys are here. We want this thing to grow. There's got to be two-way communication between our elected officials and the voters. So I thank you guys for being here. I thank you guys for being here. I know your schedules are tight. And we had to rework this thing around to try to benefit everybody, and we are thankful to sponsor this. And from a food standpoint, please take all that when you leave when we're done. And thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Justin. We appreciate you guys and all the support that you give to the chamber and our community. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you for coming again and being part of this. Tonight's agenda, we're going to hear from each one of our speakers and allow them 5 to 10 minutes up here and tell us what's been going on with them and the Capitol and their committees or any recent changes. After each has went, then we will open it up for question and answer session. I know most of you are probably here because you're passionate about a certain topic, so I just want to encourage open and meaningful discussions, but let's remember to be respectful and kind in our conversations. Thoughtful dialogue leads to progress, so please be kind. Please note that we will have microphones set up here and there on the other side as soon as we're done, and again, if you don't feel comfortable answering or coming up to the mic, we have our table set up outside where you can write a question down and we'll ask it for you. All right, that's it, and we are going to start because Kirk sat down first. He gets to go first. So welcome, Kirk Haston, please.
Appreciate the opportunity to say a few words tonight, and I'll just highlight a few of the pieces of legislation that I'm working on right now. One of the passions that I found myself having when I got to the legislature was for career technical education. And it's not because I'm good at anything that has to do with that. I keep doing a bird box. But when I got in the school system, 18 years ago at Perry County, it just amazed me at some of the things that were happening in our CTE programs. And then I got to the legislature, and it was good timing that there was a lot of initiatives coming in that Governor Lee was pushing that had to do with CTE programs. And so, a couple of things I've done in the last few years is I was able to secure funds, and we passed a law that the ACT work keys would be able to be paid for and able to be given to any senior that wanted to take it in the state of Tennessee. And what that does is, it's a great career assessment to be able to connect students to the workforce. One of the things I'm working on now is trying to get us back to what I guess traditionally has been called, 2 graduation pathways. Right now we have some graduation requirements that frankly don't fit very well for our career technical education students. And so we're basically trying to allow for some freedom. It doesn't mean these students can't take chemistry and algebra 2 and a foreign language, to name 2 or 3 of the ones that we're trying to have some freedom on for our LEAs. It just means that if there is a STEM course or a CTE course that's comparable, that they have some flexibility in the LEA to allow those career technical education students focus on that pathway if they want to get connected. What else that does is it frees them up to potentially be able to get into TCATs their freshman year when there's quite a few requirements on that freshman schedule. One of the other things that we're working on, it's been a passion project of mine now for about 4 years, and got Speaker Sexton on board with this. He signed on to help with this as well, is trying to reduce testing at the high school level. Right now it's called EOC testing, end of course testing, and that's the state mandated test that's at the high school level. And it's not federally required. It's something that a lot of states don't require, but the state of Tennessee does. And it's just a little bit too much, because the ACT is what connects our students to scholarship money, is what connects our students to colleges. And frankly, we're spending way too much time focusing on the test that not one college counselor has ever asked the student what they've done on their EOCs. Right now, we're 40th in the nation in our ACT composite score. And so we're trying to get a better focus at the high school level by freeing up some instruction time, by reducing that EOC requirement and being able to focus on ACT. That does not mean that accountability would go away. There's ways to have pre-ACT at freshman and sophomore year, and have the ACT junior year, and still have some growth measurements and some accountability there. So we can still have that there while also getting a really good focus for our students to be able to hone in on getting better at a test that connects them directly to scholarship money and to colleges. I know we have some other subjects that come up later, but I'll turn it over to whoever. Who's that now, second? Ed, second.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ed Jackson from Jackson, and I'm your state senator, District 25, and I represent 7 counties 6 in West Tennessee and 1 in Middle Tennessee. So I start at the Mississippi River up in Lake County, and I go all the way across to Dyer County, to Crockett County, to Madison County, where I live, and then here to Henderson County, Decatur County, and then across the river to where Kirk lives in Perry County. So I have in the Senate, there are 33 Senate members and 99 House members. So I have a lot larger district to cover than these guys do. So you probably see them maybe a little bit more often than you do me, because I'm spread pretty thin sometimes. But I just rolled in from Nashville, had a lot going on today that I had to take care of. But I was very glad and proud to be here. I serve on several committees. I'm on the Health Committee. I've been in the legislature for 11 years. And I serve on the Health Committee, I serve on the State and Local Government Committee, and then I serve on Government Operations, which the Lieutenant Governor, Randy McNally, just appointed me as chairman of that committee. That's the oversight of all the boards, commissions, and the departments in state government. We have the oversight to make sure they're running smoothly and efficiently in our state. And that's one reason why our state is doing so well, because we do make sure that our boards and commissions and the departments, each one of the departments, do run smoothly. Some of the things that I've been working on quite a bit is being on the Health Committee. I'm working on health issues. And in the state of Tennessee, we've had 16 hospitals to close in the state of Tennessee over the last decade. 13 of those have been in rural counties which can least afford to lose health care. An example of there's a group that it's a management group that has helped a whole lot, and we're working on reopening some of the hospitals, but this hospital here in Lexington was scheduled to close at one point in time. This hospital group came in, assessed what was going on there. They made swift changes and made a lot of changes, a lot of positive changes, good management skills, and now the hospital here in Lexington is doing extremely well. There are other hospitals that are closed, the one in Decatur County, the one in Perry County where Kirk is, and the one in Brownsville that closed. Well, this same management group, Brayton Health, came in and reopened that hospital a little over a year ago, which it was critical for them to have that hospital because of Blue Oval moving in there. They needed health care in that county to serve all the population that's moving into the Haywood County and into West Tennessee. So Brayton Health now, I was working with them yesterday. I passed a couple of bills in the Senate Health Committee that dealt with ambulance issues and the cost of what it costs for an ambulance to make a run. Pretty much the ambulance services, every county is required to have an ambulance and ambulance service in the county, and the county has to pay for it. So if they're at the reimbursement rates that are coming through TennCare, they lose money on every single run. So we're working on trying to get the reimbursement rates up to where that the ambulance authorities in these local counties across Tennessee can make a profit, or at least break even when they make a run for somebody who's having either a heart attack or stroke or whatever it might be from a car accident, that they get there in time and to a hospital that's close. So we are in the process of reopening the hospital in Decatur County. Brayton Health has put a new roof on. They own that hospital now, and they're gutted the inside of that hospital. It's supposed to reopen in the not too distant future. Perry County, where Kirk lives, he and Brock and I, Kirk Haston and Brock and I, we've all worked on helping to reopen these hospitals, carrying legislation, and just visited over the Perry County last week and saw the hospital there that's been gutted also, and it is proposed to be reopened, which is going to be a huge, huge plus for the people in Perry County, which is a distressed county. So that's some of the things that I've been focusing on. There's several other things. Let's see. There's I have some notes here. I'm sorry, I'm not as organized as I should be because I had to rush getting here. There's the treasurer, David Lillard. There's a program that you can see 3 good-looking guys on there. This is 3 of us on this mailer that we got from the treasurer. But there's money that the state has that actually belongs to us, the citizens. And he's trying to find the citizens to give this money back to. It's called unclaimed property. In this county, let's see, in this county, there is, there are 116,404 properties representing $1,431,000 waiting to be claimed in Henderson County. So this is something that you can go online and see if maybe that's something that you may have owned a business or may have had some money that was transferred to you or a loved one left it for you or whatever, and the state has it and you don't know about it. So you can go to claim CLAMLT-Tennessee.gov. And that's how you can go and learn to see if some of this money belongs to you. But there's a lot of money in this county that has not been claimed. I worked for a company for a long time and had some money that was given, I was supposed to get. I didn't know about it until my wife read in the paper that my name was in the paper. It said you have some unclaimed money. So that's one of the things I'm working on. Some of the things that Henderson County is doing very, very well in. You've got a lot of development here. The Natchez Trace State Park, which was a $69 million investment in upgrades to the state park. That's going to be an extremely, extremely nice park. If you haven't seen any of the upgraded state parks lately, you're in for a great surprise. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful park over there that will bring a lot of people in here to this county. The new TCAP, the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, $30 million TCAP that's going to be built in this county. This county's getting as much attention from the state, investment from the state as just about any county in the state, and I'm very, very proud to see that. So they're doing. There are other things that are going on. There are some issues with the rest stop of the dumpster. Mayor McCready has said we're having to clean that up all the time, and it's still blowing over, and the debris is blowing over into some of the farmland and the property of the people around the interstate. If y'all been by that, you've seen it, what I'm talking about. And so I talked to TDOT yesterday, and they are probably going to be putting some cameras up and seeing who's dumping illegally there, and start prosecuting some of the people. So those are just some of the things that I'm working on. I'll turn it over to Brock, and I'll be glad to answer any questions afterwards.
Awesome. Well, good evening. This is a fantastic turnout. Thank you all for coming. As he said, I'm Brock Martin. I'm the newest of the two up here for you guys. So I'll introduce myself a little bit since some of y'all might not know yet. But first and foremost, I want to thank Christy Anderson and her team for making this happen tonight and getting this organized, as well as Farm Bureau, wherever those guys went. Thank y'all for the event and the food. This is how it should work. Events like this, where we can get together and talk and hear issues and come together and understand what we need to do to move Tennessee and Henry County, or Henderson County, and this whole West Tennessee area forward. But first and foremost, what she's doing is fantastic, guys. I represent 3 counties, Gibson, Carroll, and Henderson counties, half of all 3. So you get all kinds of things in chambers across those areas, but she and her team are doing an exceptional job and doing a great opportunity for this community. So I appreciate what she's done. I went through her leadership class this year, so if you guys haven't done that, a shameless plug, get involved in that one. You'll learn tremendous things. You get to tour the school systems, which I saw my friend back there in the back. I got to come to this school and see the energy that she had in this portion, which is fantastic. But I'm from Huntington, about 20 miles north. I'm a healthcare provider by trade. My wife and I own Southern Chiropractic there in Huntington as well as Camden, so we have 2 locations. We have an 8-year-old who's in 2nd grade and a 2-month-old at home. So we are very, very busy, which is fun and good time in our life, but the greatest honor outside my faith and family is serving as one of your voices in Nashville. I think I talked about this last time when I came, that, the district split 3 years ago, and that was a big contentious issue down here in Gibson County as well, my other one, because you're going to have 2 people for the first time. And I see it as a win because you have 2 people now up there in Nashville on the House side as well as the Senator, so we have 3 working towards things to happen for our community. And I think we're seeing some of that fruition, as Senator Jackson mentioned, some of the wins we're getting coming back to our community, which is exponential growth is about to happen, and we're trying to set ourselves up for that 20, 30, 40 years down the road. So he mentioned a few of the topics. I'll talk briefly what I do. As a healthcare provider, I'm blessed to be on the healthcare committee, thankfully. Speaker Sexton put me as the chairman of the health subcommittee, and one of my passions there is rural health. So I try to concentrate a lot of my bills and focus on how we can improve access, improve quality, and improve outcomes in rural health and rural Tennessee especially. Another thing that I'm on is commerce, and then I am on insurance full, because insurance and health kind of work together in that regard. And then Speaker Sexton put me last year on the Policy and Planning Committee for mental health and substance abuse. And as a provider, I was kind of in that world anyways, but then now that I've been thrown into that sector, I've really become passionate about mental health, especially having young children, and what I'm seeing in our schools and what we're hearing in our schools when we talk to our directors and things that they're having to deal with. And I think state level, there's a lot we can do to improve that. We know there's a lot of areas and factors that go into it, but that's something that I'm passionate about, and finding ways to make sure we increase those services for our kids. Come to the bills that I'm working on. I'm the House side of the rural ambulance bill with Senator Jackson. He got it passed this week, so it's up to me now to pass it on the other side. So I know I saw some of my ambulance people were back there. That's bright up here. But y'all came in. Thank y'all for being here. That bill might not sound like a lot to most, but it is a huge deal to our counties as well. A lot of them, I have Gibson County, they have almost $100,000 that they have to subsidize in losses just to keep their ambulance going. So they're working at a loss every day, and that's a service that we have to have. And it's a valuable service because we can get you guys from Lexington to Nashville, and we need to get the reimbursement up to where it should be. They're still on 2006 reimbursement rates. I don't know anybody in here is running a business, but you guys cannot work on the 2006 reimbursement rates very long. And that's what we're forcing these guys to do. So then the counties have to get creative, and they have to tax, or they have to find other ways to get money. So we're trying to help combat some of that. I've got another bill regarding biomarkers. So last year I ran a genome sequencing bill, and what that was doing was helping to differentiate conditions earlier. So a biomarker testing bill, what we're going to work on is making sure that we can get our cancer patients the treatment they need quicker. and get insurances to actually cover it like they should be. So currently what happens, you might go in and they diagnose you with a cancer and you might have 6 or 8, 12 months of trial care sometimes and doesn't work. Or it works a little bit. But on the front end, if we'd had the right biomarker test and it would have been covered by the insurance, which they should have done on the front end for whatever reason, they don't like to pay on the front end for things, we could have gotten that differential quicker and got possibly the treatment faster and saved lives. I think that's where healthcare and where our side of what we can do in Nashville can really make a difference by pushing the envelope a little bit on some of those things that those guys just don't want to cover for whatever reason, but it impacts lives when you don't cover those things correctly. So that's another one that I'm running, and we'll hopefully get across the finish line this year. A few other things that I'm just thinking that come to mind, I get a lot of calls from you guys, are TDOT, and he addressed one of the big things. I know Robbie is blowing me up all the time on that interstate, and when I drive to Jackson, I'm embarrassed every time I go by a T because it is terrible. And they're going to address that. Paving, I talked the other day on the radio, paving is coming from 412 into Lexington from the west side, 22 on the south side, and 22 on the north side, I've heard. So we're going to have at least 3 of them repaved over the next little bit. How long that takes, you never know, but it is on the to-do list, so that's a positive thing that we can get some of that aspect going. And then, as he mentioned, the long-term investments of TCAP is incredibly valuable, as well as what Natchez Trace is going to do. If you guys haven't seen that picture, it is unbelievable. I might have a picture in my phone. I'll show y'all afterwards if you want to see it. But what they're going to do is going to change that entire landscape. But then that's also going to allow somebody like Christy, with the brain that she has, to tie in the chamber, to tie people. When they come and stay at that cabin or at that lake, they'll come into our community and shop in our stores and eat here and spend their money here. And then they're the best people because then they leave. So you get their tax dollars and then they leave your community without tearing up too much usually. So that is going to be a big win for Chamber and for our community and the city. Again, the brag is on the city and what you guys are doing locally. We at the state can try to help with grants and help steer things down. The state only want to work with good partners, good faith partners, people that we can send money to and know that they're going to be good stewards of it to turn it into other things. And Henderson County's had a history of that, so I'm proud to be able to represent you guys in that regard and continue to help try to push it forward, supporting what our needs are. And I think Kirk nailed it on some of the aspect that we're talking about, is the future generations. And that's why I ran 3 years ago, having an 8-year-old who's sitting there in our schools for the next 10 years, and now a 2-month-old, so I'm going to have a kid for the next 18 years. Things that's going to be life-changing as well. And what we want to do is educate them, but then keep them in Henderson County or give them jobs and opportunities. And that's what we're seeing happen at some of our industrial board or industrial parks and things, is we're getting good jobs and keeping people back in our communities. So that's kind of my story, why I'm here. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I look forward to questions and answers and anything else we can do. Thank y'all.
Nobody told you how bright it is up here, or that it echoes back up here. Did y'all notice that? Yeah. All right, so we're going to open it up now to questions and answers, and we're going to put the microphones on each side, so give us just a second. If you're wanting to ask a question, if you go ahead and start making your way up, either on this side.
Here is a tough subject. We address it every day, and I wish I had good answers for you right now on that, but maybe Rob?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit on, in Tennessee, I think it was 2019 when we got the block grant. That was before my time. 2019, I believe we got the block grant from the federal government where we're able to get a match back on help offset some of these costs. And we're the only state in the country that can do that. So instead of having Medicaid expansion, we have this process that brings money back. Now, the problem is if money gets back and it's not being spent properly, I don't think. So we had a committee meeting today and over $700 million wasn't even being distributed out. It was referring back to the general fund for TennCare. So that's one of our passions of what we're trying to do in TennCare is revamp how they're doing things. Because there's enough funding and money there if we utilize it correctly.
They're talking about turning off the spigot, though.
What's that?
They're talking about turning off the spigot.
Well, maybe at the federal, we're talking on the state side.
Yeah, you're talking about how to utilize that money comes in from federal and being able to match up with the state.
Yes, sir.
So if you don't have funds to match, which obviously the state doesn't have unlimited funds in that part.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to wait and see what they actually do on Medicare. You know, sometimes it's still hypothetical what we're going to do on the cutting portion, but if it's where it is right now, Tennessee's uniquely set up with that community or that grant portion, where we can get community dollars back. No other state's set up that way. That's a pretty blessing from a conservative standpoint fiscally. It saves us a ton of money as well because we can utilize it in the resources that we need in these rural districts that we weren't getting before.
Pretty scary for all the world.
Thank you for that question. We'll go to the other side.
Yes, I'm not sure if it's, hello?
Marley, is it on?
Yeah, okay, I guess I just need to speak louder. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming. I certainly appreciate your effort to come to speak to each of your constituents and answer a few questions. My name is Kendall Thomas. I am a licensed hemp farmer. I've been licensed since 2018. I'm the only 100% woman-owned hemp farm in Madison County, and I'm one of the very few in the state. I would like to speak to you tonight about a current bill that is going through, actually went through this week, and will go through a few more sessions next week. It's Senate Bill 1413. We refer to it lovingly as the ABC bill. The ABC bill mentions several things in regards to the hemp industry that we are already doing and support in this industry. The safety guidelines that are proposed are not new. These are already in effect by the TBA new regulations that went into full effect just 64 days ago. The rollout began July 2023, and we completed that this past 64 days ago. We are in full support of 21 plus carding, all the punishments that go along with the illegal sales. We absolutely support child safety testing and everything that goes along with it that was mentioned in the bill. These are things that different groups have worked with our legislators to put forth some of these regulations. So these are not new. Our industry 100% supports this and is ready to offer more input. The taxes and jobs that this bill will affect, Tennessee will lose $33 million in tax revenue that can be used to help Tennesseans. Currently under the ABC bill, most of the tax revenue will go to them, plus all of the licensing fees. And the concern with that is, why does the ABC need up to $33 million to hire 23 new people to enforce? This bill will cause insurmountable loss among business owners and their employees. This is a very burdensome bill to all of the industry and will eliminate small business. The new plan requires a $750,000 financial requirement for manufacturing that will eliminate the majority of hemp businesses, including me. I am a supplier and manufacturer. I have recently applied and got my license through the state and done everything that is required to do that. We just went through changing all the regulations and packaging with this 2023 bill rollout, and new regulations under the ABC bill will be costly. I just spent $80,000 on a new manufacturing kitchen. This will become obsolete with the new $750,000 requirement and a 1,000 square foot minimum requirement. I'm concerned why our legislators are telling us how much space we need when we're the ones that we know how much we can produce. The THC 0.1% is an impossible standard to meet. It cannot be met scientifically with this plant. People may refer to this hemp as medicine, but I would argue it is more of a medicine. It is no more of a medicine than aspirin, Tums, or Pepto-Bismol, things that you can buy over the shelf. This is not as strong as medical marijuana or recreational marijuana. But what they are really stating, the customers that state use the word medicine, they are really stating that the hemp plant provides relief, just as common over-the-counter items do. THCA is legal per the 2018 Farm Bill, and we feel like a complete solution would be to let the Tennessee farmers have the grow back. That was taken away from us several years ago. Grow THC in-state, sell it in-state, and test in-state so that Tennesseans benefit 100%. Let the farmers farm and continue to grow this industry that we have built. And in closing, I would like to ask, as this bill comes up again, Senate Bill 1413, the ABC bill, please remember us. Please remember people like me. I will lose my farm. I will lose my house. I will not have anything left because I have put everything into it since 2018. Please remember us, and we ask that you reach out to your fellow legislators and let them know how your constituents will be greatly affected with this bill passage.
Thank you.
I also have 3 letters. I wrote it to Senator Ed Jackson, but it was late, so I don't believe that you probably had a chance to read it prior to this week's session. But since all of you are here, I made a copy of it. It is just my personal background, something that I won't discuss publicly here, but I want you to read it and know me and know what I've gone through to get to this point and how this will affect me, if you will please. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I'll answer any questions if needed.
I can address that a little bit. You, as a hemp grower, I have good friends that are growing hemp as well. Ted Nelson, I don't know if you know Ted Nelson in Jackson, one of my closest friends in the world. And he and his family raise hemp and THC. But anyway, it's not you, it's not people like him, that it's the bad actors that are, that's the reason for changing it over from the Department of Agriculture oversight to ABC. They can have oversight over this pretty much close to the same as they do for the alcohol and the use of alcohol and the illegal use of alcohol in the state. So they felt like that was a better way, both the Department of Agriculture and then ABC said they can handle this. And people like yourself, we don't want to do anything to hurt your business. But I know, like Delta 10, if it's heated up, the THC goes out the roof, from what I understand. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've never smoked a joint in my life, and I grew up in the 60s and 70s, so I don't know a whole lot about this, but I know that that's one thing that we've got to regulate the bad actors and make sure that they don't, this doesn't get out of hand. But people like yourself, we don't want to hurt your business. We want you to continue doing what you're doing because you do provide a very valuable asset and resource for Tennessee.
And I certainly appreciate that because I will not make it under these new regulations. How the industry feels about the ABC taking over is the TDA has only had the full rollout for 64 days. So we feel like a plant needs to be under agriculture. We understand the steps that the ABC will take and how they regulate alcohol. We just don't feel like this is a good match for a plant. And I would just ask that we continue to work with the coalition groups, with the lobby groups, with retailers and farmers such as myself to find a nice, cohesive bill because we absolutely want the bad actors out. We do not want anybody selling to minors. We do not want children going into gas stations. We do not want any of that. We want the bad actors gone, but we feel like the ABC, the bill in its entirety is entirely too strict and will destroy the industry. Because it is a standard, the 0.1% THCA is a standard that cannot be met scientifically. But I appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Any legislation that we pass legislation every year, and some of them have unintended consequences. And putting honest, hardworking people out of business is not what we want to do, not what we intend to do. So we can make adjustments, we can add amendments to bills, we can change things to where it won't hurt the people like yourself and like Ted Nelson, who's a good friend of mine. So Hopefully we'll get to that point. I don't think it's come to the House yet to be heard, but it was heard yesterday in the Senate, and in the Senate Health, which I was there. And Dr. Richard Briggs, he's a heart vascular surgeon in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's the one that had the bill and has really researched deeply into this bill and made the plea for this legislation.
And I would like to say to each of you that my contact information is on the bottom of those letters, email, and if you need to reach out and ask me any additional questions, I would be happy to do so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, back to this side.
My name is Daniel Davis. I'm a physician here in Henderson County. Mainly want to address Brock and Kirk.
Would you mind speaking into the mic a little bit more closer? Thank you.
My name is Daniel Davis. I'm a physician here in Henderson County. Mainly want to address with Brock and Kirk. And first I want to tell you, we appreciate y'all. I know y'all sit through excruciating, boring meetings. But I noticed none of y'all brought up school vouchers. I think you did a boneheaded thing. I think this is a bad thing. Kirk, you're a public educator. Brock, I think your kid's in public school. Cameron Sexton's kid is not in public school. Does Cameron Sexton need $7,000 to send his kid to private school? He does not. It's a giveaway from our county to the wealthy counties that are populated with people already heavily in private school. I guess the horse has gone from the barn. I guess I should have contacted y'all before. This is a bad thing for most of my patients, most of the people I go to church with. They cannot afford private school even with a $7,000 stipend. It's going to erode it's going to erode our public schools, and it's a direct giveaway from the middle class to the wealthy.
I appreciate the question, and I have to disagree with you on a couple of things. One of the reasons why that this approach was one that I could get behind, being an 18th year public educator and third generation public educator, is because it protected the funds for our public schools, and that has been an approach that hasn't happened.
Kirk, in the long run, you know that can't be true. You know that cannot work out.
It is true, and that's I mean that's the problem that we deal with, is that we get a lot of disinformation that's put out there, and it scares a lot of people, and it's just not fact. It's just not fact. And what we're looking at with this particular set of circumstances, and trust me, I was one of 22 legislators on the Republican side that voted against it a few years ago. And
I was proud of you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. But there's a lot of issues that are really easy that are 0 to 100. Like, I'm always known as a red light or blue light on all alcohol bills. It's just the easy thing. It's just one of the things I'm going to be at on that. With this, there was a 0 to 100 issue when I first came to the legislature. And to be honest, over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, and meeting a lot of people that benefited from opportunities in the school choice and some personal issues that I'm having with.
Kirk, you're rebranding as school choice. This is not school choice. This is school vouchers.
Okay.
It's a different thing.
All right, appreciate that. And seeing how it affected some people in my family in another state, it opened my eyes to it. And I'm not 100-0 against it or 100-0 for it. And our district polled in the neighborhood of about 55% for it, 45% against it.
Okay. Let me interject. I got that. The way you worded it was school choice. It didn't say, are you in favor of the taxpayers giving wealthy people $7,000 to send their kids to private school?
And I'm going to get to that.
Kirk, I am a wealthy person. But I should not get $7,000 to take my kid.
Well, what we ran into with this issue a lot is, and you ran into it with the point that you made earlier, is that we had within the same 5 or 6 minutes of talking to some administrators across the state, you'll have somebody say, hey, it's only $7,000. Nobody is going to be able to use that to go to private school. Private schools are too much. And then within 5 minutes, somebody will say, make the point, it's like, this is going to cost, it's going to cost so much and so many people are going to do it, and it's going to take all this money out of public schools. And what I've told those people a couple times is like, you can't have both sides of this argument, because there's got to be something in between here for me to argue for. So I'll say this, I'm going to finish this point real quick, and I'm going to let you have this chance. But I'll say this: a lot of people say that it is public tax dollars, and it should stay in public schools, and that is an incredible point. Okay, and I agree with that. But on the other side, they will say that it's private Tennessee citizens' tax dollars. Shouldn't the Tennessee tax-paying parent have a say in how to use those funds to educate their child? And I think that that's a very fair point, too, that you have to consider. And the fact that this bill approach was a way that had not been done in any other state, in that it protects the funding of our public schools, and this is how it does it. Whatever you're at right now in your public schools, if you have disenrollment, and that's not just for a private school, if they leave for a private school. If you have disenrollment because a factory shuts down, and you have 1,000 students in your school, and next year it dips to 900, you still get funding for that 1,000 students. That's what this bill did, and that's what we voted on. That's never been done, and frankly, I don't know if it would ever be on the table again if we let that opportunity pass by. And so in order to protect the funding for public schools, while at the same time giving some parents some opportunities who thought that their students were in a bad situation, was a great opportunity for school choice to come into the state of Tennessee. And here's the thing, like some of you here are never going to understand, and some of you are never going to agree with that. But some of the things I said today, I guarantee you had heard the exact opposite. And I hope that if you don't agree with the premise of it or the philosophy of it, that you'll do some research on it and find out exactly what it does, and find out that there are some benefits to it. And there was a lot of protections for our public schools in there. And I'll let you have the last word, because you've been very kind to me and didn't let me have my fair say. So I will let you graciously have the last word of this. Go ahead.
How many of your constituents send their kids to private school? How many of the people in Franklin, Tennessee, send their kids to private school? Where is the money going? It's going to Franklin. And y'all need to remember, you work for us. You don't work for Cameron. You work for us. And I understand the problem is that if you don't suit Cameron, then you get a challenger that they're well funded. I understand that. But y'all are both capable guys. You're smart guys. Y'all got careers. You don't need to bend the knee at Cameron Sexton.
Thank you for your question. And let's move on to the next, so we have time, Brock. Or go ahead, Brock. We'll let you respond, and then we'll move on to the next question.
I don't want to take a bunch of time. Brock, afterwards, if you want to talk.
Yeah, that'd be great. I just want to add one little portion of it, just because, and it's not a comment or anything. I appreciate, Doctor, what you said and what you're saying. When I ran 3 years ago, I've come from a family, both parents, 40 years educated, public school educators. That's all I've known my whole life as well. My kid is at second grader in Huntington. I've got a 2-month-old. So when I was looking at this bill, I wasn't thinking what benefits Cameron Sexton or what benefits the leadership or what benefits, and there was an article that came out against us from one of our own legislators accusing us of something that never crossed my mind at any point. My thought process when I ran 3 years ago, and what I actually ran on 3 years ago, was robust public schools and empowering parents with options. It was one of my first mailers I ever sent out. It came across all these different areas because I philosophically believe in empowering the parent, but I also know the value of our public school systems. And I see, as we move forward in this process, that it was a divisive issue, and I knew running 3 years ago this vote would one day come up. And so that's why when I looked at it, I looked at all options. And yes, we don't have kids in private schools currently, which is why I like this bill as well, because we're not a threat for that, as they've been discussing, that we're going to lose all this funding. But as Kirk mentioned, there was funding there to protect our schools that we've never had before. When I met with people in Gibson County, which is also my county, Gibson, Carroll, and Henderson, we're losing kids to homeschool every day. We're not losing the private school. And this was a protection aspect that could help those kids and help those schools. And so one other small detail, we have to continually remember, guys, that just because you go to public or private school does not mean you're wealthy. You go ask kids at USJ, some of them are wealthy, TCA. Some of those parents are taking out loans themselves because they don't agree with what's happening in their local school. And I love my school. I love Huntington. That's why my kid goes there. I choose every day to send my kid to that school because I could probably send him somewhere else if I chose. But I believe in what these guys are doing, and I want to continue to fight for our public schools.
Public schools are
Thank you.
That's why
Appreciate it.
sad.
All right, let's move on to the next question, so we can get time for everyone's questions in. Go ahead on this side.
Hello. I won't take long. My name's Larry B. Green, and I'm an activist for cannabis legalization. And I'm here with this lady here. She said a lot already, so I don't really have to say much. I just want to come and tell you I appreciate you guys being up there. I appreciate you listening to us. But I want you to really consider the ban on THCA and this bill of the ABC bill, because it will affect a lot of people. And I'm here with Hub City Hemp. We have stores in Jackson and Lexington. And we see these people every day coming to our store. We treat these people with wellness, and they feel great, and they come and use our product. If you vote for this bill, these people won't get the help they need. And I help veterans every day. They come in needing pain sacs. They're needing gummies to help with their PTSD so they can sleep. So they can, this pain salve for their joints and everything that they've gone, because the VA won't help them. So I'm the storefront. I see these people every day. They come to me telling me what they need. I'm just like you. I'm a representative. And they come to me telling me what they want, what they need. So I'm there doing what I need them to do, or for them. That's what I'm asking you to do. I have 2,000 followers on social media combined. I have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. I have my own show, and I talk to people all the time. And they come on my show telling me what cannabis does for them. So I just ask you, please consider this bill that you're putting through the Senate right now. Look at it, adjust it, because it's really going to hurt a lot of people. And the money that Tennessee's going to lose. There's $33 million you guys are getting a year right now. And if we change it better, people stop going to other states. They'll come here. Instead of going to Missouri, instead of going to Kentucky, instead of going to Arkansas, they'll stay in Tennessee. So we can get that $33 million a year up to 60. So just think about all the money that we can make from this if you don't do anything. We're good right now. Let's just adjust it. Let's not stop it. It's backwards. Thank you. Larry B. Green out.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. My name is Courtney Beswina. I'm the principal at Haywood Elementary here in Lexington City School District. I did write to you all about vouchers, and I believe you all voted for the vouchers here in the state of Tennessee. And I do appreciate that you protected the TISA funding with that, and I think that is a huge benefit. But I think that the conversation is more nuanced than what we've had tonight so far. And here's, as a public educator, here's my concern. Private schools don't have to follow IDEA. They do not have to follow ADA. They do not have to accept students with major, severe mental health and behavioral issues. And when they do, or if they do, they can kick them out without following any regulations that we have to follow in terms of IDEA and ADA. When that happens, when they don't want to serve a student with an IEP with special needs, they take the students that meet their specifications, that don't require a lot of resources to educate, that don't require a lot of behavioral assistance and support, and those students are left out in the cold. They're not benefited by this money, and therein lies the inherent hurt to public education, because we are going to be continuing to serve those students while some of our higher performing students are going to go to private schools, and we're going to be continued to be held to the same rigorous requirements that we are through standardized testing, in order, which is part of our TISA funding, right? Our performance, our growth, our AMOs, and all of those things, while our student population is shifting as a result of these vouchers. I don't think that conversation has been had fully. I don't think that we're comparing apples to apples, and I do think overall this will hurt public education, but I'm very interested in how you plan to address that.
Well, I appreciate the question and the comments, and you make some fair points. I'll just say on the other side of that is that you have several schools in the state of Tennessee. There's one in Murray County, for instance, that is for students who have autism. And so a parent that might have an autistic child that's in public schools right now that would have the opportunity, might not have the opportunity otherwise to have enough funds to take that student and put them in a school that specializes in that need. So you make some fair points, but there's also some arguments on the other side for some of that as well. As far as one of the reasons why that we put $3 billion into public education over the past, I think, 6 years is because to make sure that we're protecting the great job that you guys are doing with our special education programs. And one of the things that you hear a lot is like one of the best things that you can have is a lower teacher to student ratio, or money, having more money per pupil. And just think about this, the example I gave earlier about if you have 1,000 students and you have a disenrollment of 100 and you go down to 900 students, but you still have that same funding for protected at 1,000, then you're increasing both of those at the same time. And that's the other benefit of this is that there are some safety net protections there as we go forward. I think that can we always improve and be doing something more for our special needs students? Absolutely. I do think that Tennessee does a great job, but we can always do better and bring up some great points. And frankly, some of the best legislative ideas I've ever gotten have just come from conversations from people like you that are really thoughtful positions and really are thinking about the nuances of things. So put pen to paper, bring me some ideas that you're like, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be helped, what can we do here? And I'll have a bill drafted for next session to do that. So just bring me some ideas, and bring Brock ideas, bring Senator Jackson ideas, but we want to know how we can help improve what you're working on, and please just let us know how to do it.
Now, here's my idea. Any school that is allowed to accept vouchers must follow IDEA and ADA guidelines and follow the same state testing regulations that our public schools have to follow, or they're not eligible for our voucher program. Then it's truly school choice, because what school choice is right now is I'm going to choose a school without students with behavioral issues and students without disabilities that might make the education process more complex, or I'm going to send them to a public school where they confront all of those problems every single day, and they do impact every student in the classroom.
And it's also parents who might want to take their child and put them in an educational environment that has a particular Christian background or religious background that they want them to have an education in, which I think also is something that a lot of parents would like to have the opportunity to do. And so, like I said, it's a very complicated, nuanced issue that I'm not 100% one way or the other on. And what you found in this, I mean, listen, I'll say this, all three of us, we knew that if we wanted to come in here and we wanted to have a lot of backpacks, pats in the back, that the easy thing for us to do and the instant gratification thing to do, and y'all did a great job, was to vote no for it. But I'll say this right now, if all three of us had voted no for it, we would still be here answering questions dealing with it. But what happened is over the last 2 or 3 years, seeing it coming our way, we all three worked on trying to bring it into the state of Tennessee in as good a way as possible. And the only way that you can do that and be in the conversation is to say, I'm willing to work on this. And if you say that you're not, then you're on the outside looking in. And from my point of view, it was coming into Tennessee sooner rather than later. The numbers were there. And with every primary that comes through, we were getting closer and closer to having 60 votes locked in on the House floor. And the closer that you were getting to having 60 votes locked in on the House floor, the less negotiation power and the less that you were going to get for public schools. That's just the brass tacks of it, in my opinion. And so, last year we had a version on the House side that would have had annually coming into Henderson County an additional $600,000 a year in funding if it would come in on the House version. TALS came out against it, TEA came out against it, TSDA came out against it, and it died. And I say that to say this. I was at the table with Senate leadership last year and the governor, and they said, why should we do this? You can't get any of your public educated people to even back that approach. And then that's why all of that was off the table this time. And so you can read and forecast out another primary election, more votes coming in, 2 or 3 governor candidates at the top. You do your research. 1 or 2 of the top governor candidates that come in here, this is a top priority. The Trump administration, top priority. This is not going away. So another wave of elections, and all of a sudden you've got an easy 60, 65 votes on the House floor, and you weren't going to have the whole Congress anymore. It would have been for like 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years. And so that's, I mean, I just want to be perfectly honest with you guys where we're coming from on this. The easy thing for us to have done, to just say, hey, we tried, would have been all of us to be no votes. But we, honestly, and I think I can speak for them, did not think it was the best thing for the district or the best thing for public schools long term. Because if we had done that, it still would be passed right now. And we would be sitting here and we would be taking your adulation and we'd be getting applause for being no, but we would still be dealing with it right now. And us three would be on the outside looking in of trying to make it as good as possible. And they would have never listened to any of us for the last 2 or 3 years as we tried to get it to the point that it got to. And I know that we're kind of going into the weeds a little bit on it, but that's the nuances of it. And that's just kind of how it works.
I understand politics. It's a numbers game and all of that. I look forward to hearing the refinements to the bill because they're desperately needed. Thank you. The other side, please.
Thank you, representatives, for coming tonight and taking all of our questions. My name is Jesse Haston, and I am a music teacher and an arts teacher. For 5 years, I've been blessed to work as a teacher in 2 different school districts here in our state of Tennessee. For 4 of those years, I worked in Lake County. This is my first in the Lexington City school system, and I'm so blessed to work here with these students. For 3 of those years, I was a music teacher, and still am. My question, representatives, is how do you know these school voucher programs will not take money away from our public school systems that helps fund our arts programs? This money funds jobs and opportunities for many teachers and staff that do not just teach general education classes. I myself at one time received my salary through 2 different grant money programs, both state and federal, because the county I worked for did not have the necessary funds in their district, or resources coming into their district for that matter, to provide the wants and needs of the students and their desires. So representatives, can you answer and promise that these vouchers that you all voted for will not take away these jobs that benefit not only our students, but our communities?
Appreciate you, first and foremost. As I mentioned earlier, I know where you're coming from. As 2 parents that taught 40 years, along with a special ed teacher as well, so I'm not seeing where she went, but the value that you produce and do. One thing that resonated with me on this bill as well, though, is it was $20,000 first year with pretty much a pilot study. So it is a $20,000 only, increases $5,000 each year. But the other safeguard in there was it would have to be appropriated every single year, which means we have to come back every year, look at the budget, see if it's working, see how it's impacting our local schools, listening in these meetings and taking that back before we can move it another year. Okay, so that was one thing that really helped me on the fiscal side of let's make sure it's going to work. If it's going to work, how do we safeguard things like this? Because I represent several very, very small schools, Clarksburg being one right up the street, one of the smallest schools in the state. And it is incredibly important and valuable what they're doing, their FFA program, the little things that they're doing. And that's kind of, Kirk nailed it just a minute ago. I thought the response he had was brilliant because that's the key. We care about public school. I think that was a misnomer that we heard was, oh, you voted no, or yes, you must not like our school. No, we're very passionate about our schools. And now we're going to be able to fight for that component because we can go and say, this is not working, or this is working. And the arts and what you guys are doing, the music side is incredibly valuable. And that's what we want to make sure. And that's why I think that year-to-year aspect of it, to see if it's working, to return the value to you guys, is one of the reasons I wanted to stand beside it and make sure that those voices are also heard in it. Because if it's not, it wouldn't have been.
Mr. Jackson, if I may, real quick.
Yeah. Did you say you were
I worked
Lake County?
I did, and I was
Okay,
going to
that's
ask you.
one of my counties, and this is one reason One reason why I voted for it too was because of the gaming funding that's about $70 million that's in the gaming funding, which will go to the rural and distressed counties. Lake County's going to reap some rewards from some grant money that's going to be coming their way for the gaming money that's going to be scheduled just for this. I think 80% of it is going to go towards education. That's one reason why I did. I have 4 grandchildren. Every one of them are in public schools in the state of Tennessee. Two of my grandsons in Jackson, Madison County. 2 granddaughters are in public schools in Williamson County. I support public school. My wife is a substitute school teacher in public schools. She's all week long. This week she's been substituting. So I support public schools 100,000%. And if we see this thing going off the rails, the committee that I'm chair of, we can change things. We can make the changes. The Government Operations Committee, we can cut funding. We can do amazing things. We're the only, I was told we're the only committee that can shut down state government, and that is the truth. So if this starts going off the rails, I promise you I'll be watching this. I'm very passionate about public school, but I know that there are areas of the state that the public schools are not meeting the grade, and the parents do wanted a choice. And that's why I say this is a school choice. My children who have our grandchildren, they made the choice to send them to the public school systems when they could have gone to they could afford to go to a private school, but they chose not to. So I support it 100%. Just want to let you know about that.
Mr. Jackson, if I may say, as the former music person for Lake County, they currently do not have a music teacher in that county, and I know there was funding available.
And what was your last name?
Jesse Austin. Jesse Austin. My name's Jesse Austin. I was their former band director there.
Yes, sir.
And I know for a fact there was funding available, and they have not yet, to my knowledge, hired a music teacher there.
There was funding that Lake County had that they could.
I do not know if the funding was appropriated correctly, but it is there, or should be.
Well, that's something I can't address because I don't know all the details, but I know there will be extra funding, grant money for these rural and distressed counties.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's move over to this side.
Hey, my name is Blake Mitchell. I'm an attorney here in Lexington, Tennessee. I represent Mason Rhodes here. I don't know if you've heard anything about some of his problems or some of the problems that local businesses here have faced in just recent times. But I'd just kind of like to say that the existential threat to democracy is by bureaucrats who are life-tenured, unelected generally, who tend to operate with little to no oversight or accountability. And they feel empowered to act arbitrarily and capriciously. Some citizens receiving favorable treatment and others face abuse. An example of this is TDOT's application and enforcement of driveway entrance permits that's happened here in the city of Lexington. In the last year, 2 commercial property owners have faced the wrath of TDOT's engineer, whom alleged the 20-plus-year-old commercial entrances were no longer allowed and would be barricaded because properties were changing use. One of these was from a bank to a used car lot, and the other was a material supplier to an automotive shop. Both of those still within commercial use. There's not been a change in traffic flow, anything like that. But this engineer, nonetheless, come in, threatened them that they were going to barricade the driveways. One of them, who wasn't represented by an attorney, he just had his driveway actually tore up, and 5 feet of his parking lot for about 200 feet along Highway 412 was also dug up and removed by TDOT. Once again, these driveways and parking lots have been here for more than 20 plus years. So what I'd like to say is the TDOT engineer went on actually with Mason here to threaten the city to withhold his certificate of occupancy. And if they did not, TDOT would withhold public fuel tax funds from the city. This was a threat. I find that very appalling and alarming. I don't believe that we should have a public entity threatening another public entity with public funds, especially over a driveway entrance permit. I believe there's other avenues to resolve differences, for instance, the courts. And at the end of the day, I guess what I want to understand is what are you going to do to hold these individuals accountable, or what can we do to have oversight over these individuals to prevent these abuses from happening? Otherwise, I'm afraid is what's going to happen is people are going to be reluctant to, one, buy commercial property because they're not going to know whether or not they're going to have commercial interests or not, or if it's going to cost them $500,000 to put in commercial interests, and they're just going to forego having business here in the city because of that work. And so I want to know, like I said, what y'all can do to oversee these individuals that, like I said, are life tenured, unelected bureaucrats that, like I said, feel empowered to do whatever they want to.
I appreciate the question, and I stopped by and saw him one afternoon. Somebody brought this to my attention, so I did come by and see exactly what we were talking about and what it looked like over there. And that was part of the concern, because I heard y'all's aspects. I reached out to the state as well to try to hear their side and try to balance both. And that's kind of where we're at on that portion. I know I reached out to Mason and several others to figure out where y'all were at.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem, though, that we talked about even from the TennCare issue and some of the things, the bureaucracy of the state, we got to get better at and streamline. That's kind of where I'm at on it. I'm still figuring out both sides, but I appreciate you coming, Mason, and at least let me see the actual visual of what was going on.
Yeah.
I just had a 10,000-foot view on the phone call once, so
yes,
we're still working through that.
I said the other thing is, so on his property, he has a stormwater catch basin, the main portion of which was installed by TDOT when they widened the highway. There's also a municipal water flow that flows into it. So along College Drive, there's water that flows into the catch basin. It's messed up. There's sinkholes that form on top of the surface, like I said, from where water is entering into the system through these various openings in it. That shouldn't be there. The problem is Mason wants to pave his parking lot, obviously, because that's required zoning. But there, once again, sinkholes forming. And so we tried to get this fixed, once again, ahead of time so that he could pave his parking lot, but nobody wants to take accountability or action to replace this or fix any of these issues. And so, and they've all known about this for more than a year now. And so I guess once again, what I'm trying to understand is what do we need to do to make individuals act and to repair these public infrastructures that are failing and that they're aware of, but they choose to turn their backs and kick the can down the road?
Well, I think you're doing exactly. I think you answered your own question by standing there informing us of the problem. So I think you're answering your own question. And so this is something that I've not heard about, and there's a lot of detail within what you're saying. And TDOT has been very willing to listen to issues and been very forthcoming, and has helped in some other areas that we've reached out to them about. I know there's a lot of frustration sometimes with various departments, but one of the things that we have to do, though, is realize that they're working within the parameters of what's in code, and a lot of times it's up to interpretation, and that's when we get into when the lawyers get involved. Which, from the sound of it, I don't want you to ever be on the opposite. I don't want to be on the opposite of a debate with you about anything in the legal world. But I would just suggest that the best thing at this point is just to make sure you reach out to us with some of those details that we can then set up some meetings and take that to TDOT and try to get into the details of what can be changed, why is this being interpreted a certain way, so that we can get educated on what the problem is and what their point of view is, and then be able to communicate with you what some options might be going forward legislatively.
I'll do that all the time. I'll just hand this back and this is.
Thank you, guys. Sir, go right ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. I have a couple of questions here, and more than anything, I'm interested in your opinions. Does the chaos in Washington, the price of groceries continue to rise? Do you think tariffs on Mexico is going to help the situation?
We'll have to wait to see. Usually when we get any kind of question that deals with DC, the first thing that goes to my mind is I'm glad that I'm not there. And the second thing that goes to my mind, much to the point that was brought up earlier, I wish that there was some term limits on the ones that are up there. But I mean, we're all waiting to see kind of how that approach plays out economically. And what I usually say when we have a question in that realm is that we have really good contacts with Congressman Green's office and Senator Blackman's office. And so some of those questions that touch on the federal level, I'm definitely by far not an expert in, but we do have good contacts. And so any questions like that anyone does have in the future, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you're having a hard time getting an answer. People ask we talk to youth groups all the time, and none of them get this reference. Maybe some of y'all will. And they say, what is your job like being a legislator? And I tell them I'm like Sarah from the Andy Griffith Show. I'm just this operator that just tries to connect people to the answer in as quick a way as possible. We might not have that exact answer for that right now, but we will be glad to try to find out as the weeks and months and years progress.
And then the other question was, are federally owned parks, such as the Shiloh Military Park, going to be open this summer?
Going to be open this summer.
As far as you know,
as far as I know, yes. As far as I know, but again, we'll reach out to some of our counterparts, Congressman Green, and some of those, and see, make sure what their point of view is on that. But I would hope so.
I would hope so too.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Cindy?
I won't take too long. Cindy Olive, Director of Schools here in Lexington City Schools. I just have a few questions. I think we've talked about vouchers. We all know where the public schools stood. It's a hard pill to swallow because we feel like it's segregation at its best, the haves and the have-nots. But all that aside, I want to tell you about a situation y'all put me in. You gave $2,000 to educators, and I'm so tickled with that. But you left some of them out. And that's hard, because I love all my people. I work my tail off to make it fair to all my people, but I've got people that aren't going to get the $2,000. How do I explain that other than you get it, you don't? That's hard.
Yeah, what's the cutoff that we might need to look at?
Well,
it says for teachers. Is that it?
The teachers says teachers in T-Encompass, but not instructional coaches, not principal, not admin.
Administrators.
Well, my principals are in T-Encompass because I evaluate them,
right? But
they don't get it. Okay, and then I've heard, well, they wanted the people that are working with the kids. My principals work with the kids. I work with the kids. They work with them.
I think you bring up a really good point, and it has been, they've been going back and forth with the administration and the governor's office to see if there's something that they can do to alleviate this issue that's arisen. The first thing that they put in there was they put that provision in there if they thought that there was going to be some opportunity for this to happen, that the funds are not, you have to pass a resolution to be able to receive the funds. So there was an ability for districts to just opt out. So it was permissive to be able to do it. But then you're having to look at the ones that would have gotten it and be able to explain it that way. And so it wasn't a great fix. But yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of trying to get the administration to commit some more funds to the process, which they are in talks about doing. So I'm hoping that the
I was going to add one little thing that came out of this. So Eddie Pruitt, who's one of my directors in Gibson County, he called last week, and
he's from Henderson County.
He's a great guy, absolutely. He is on top of this. He called and he said, "Brock, pre-K is not included in that portion." He was concerned. So we reached out to Sam Piercy, who's the director.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Sam. He said that was misunderstood, and pre-K teachers would be included. So certified teachers in pre-K, because it says K through 12 in the school. So that's why some of this is still being worked out. But that was an example of how we thought we were going to lose some of those that we can still work, I think, over the next few weeks.
Well, it says instructional coaches cannot, and admin people. And the reasoning, as I read in different articles, was said because they want the people that work with kids. I don't know about these other school systems, but my instructional coaches and my principals work with kids. When it's testing time, I work with kids, which I'm not saying I need it. I'm just saying
I am saying you need
it. But I'm just saying it's hard. It's hard when you're in a school system of hard-working folks to pick and choose which ones get that allotment and which ones don't, because we work hard to not make a difference because everybody's giving it all they got every day. But I got to make a difference. So let me ask you one more thing. How's it coming on the pre-K bill, on the special ed pre-K bill?
The universal streamer?
No, the special ed pre-K bill.
Oh,
the fund special ed pre-K.
Oh. Yeah, Chairman Watts got that bill, and it's going to be working through committee. It won't have any trouble getting through committee. It's just.
I know, I mean, it's gotta go to the Ways and Means, because it's an expensive thing, but.
And I think that, I haven't gotten an update from him in a couple of weeks on it, but he was optimistic that there was going to be some funding attached to it this year.
I mean, it's a $225,000 hit to me that's not funded.
Yeah.
You know, Jason Manuel in Germantown, he said it's a $1.2 million unfunded mandate for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, that's not fair to mandate it and then not fund it.
Yeah,
I know.
I feel the same way with RTI. It was the same way
Yeah.
I felt when RTI came in.
And then one more question, the PE bill, where they're raising the number of minutes.
The recess one.
The recess fee. Have they, I haven't been able to tune in to the legislature this week. It's been a busy week. But
it hasn't been in committee yet. It's gotten some brushback and some concerns. It went over like a lead balloon when it got talked about at the TOS conference.
Yeah, it did.
So I think everybody knew kind of, that's the superintendent's conference. And I know that they were in the process of trying to get that down to like maybe just even like 20 minutes total, for the week, like 20 minutes anywhere type thing.
Well, that's reasonable.
And so I think that they're working on trying to make it, because it's just like, your time is thin and your time is precious. And so adding anything to the schedule, I can understand and empathize is a nightmare. And so I know that they're going back and forth. It hasn't come through committee yet, but I'll make sure to let you know when it's going to be up in committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just when you said that you're going to step back and take a look at vouchers every year to see if it's working, what is the gauge that you'll be looking at?
I think that, there's some accountability measures in there, and I think that they'll look at, if like a lot of people suggested it just won't be utilized. And if it's something that's not being utilized, or some of the results are not there, or some of the feedback they're getting from parents is not there, I think that one of the great indicators for future performance is what your past actions have been. And the legislature has been, really fiscally responsible to the tune of how much is in the rainy day fund right now. But you have $2.6 billion or more at this point. So I think that you're going to see a very measured approach going forward, and whether or not it's worth the amount of money. Because I think if it's not getting a return on investment in the future, I do think that the stipulations of putting it in there where it had to be appropriated each year is one of the reasons why we put it there.
Okay. I didn't want it to be a compare and contrast, because you can't do apples and oranges, and you all know that. But that's all I got right now.
Thank you.
We'll take a real quick one from you. I've got a lot of questions up here that need to be answered.
Guys, this should, hopefully it won't take long. You indicated that there wasn't going to be an increase or a decrease in school funding because of the vouchers. That's correct?
That's correct.
You also, a couple of times, talked about the fact that the reason a lot of people wanted to move their children to private schools, that was a real benefit to be able to let them do that with this funding, correct? With the vouchers. That they had a choice to get away from poor education to a better education.
In some instances, I'd say that would be the reason. Other instances, they might want to leave for, like I said.
So I guess my question is really, the state of Tennessee ranks 41st in education in the United States in their public schools. That's deplorable. Why not take this funding, take this money, or even more money, and increase teachers' salaries, pay, improve the schools with money, rather than giving it to a private school so that they can benefit?
We have added about $3 billion in the last 6 years to public education, and
we're 41st in the nation.
I think that is an old number that's been out there for a long time. I do think it's not great, but I do think
I just looked it up.
We have moved up. It depends on which metrics you look at, but we have moved up from that original number. Like I said, we're not going to ever get everybody convinced that this is the right approach, but protecting protecting the public school funding was very important to us, and without that piece of it, we wouldn't
Improve
vote
the
for it.
public schools is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we just, and